Good morning, friend. Welcome back to my kitchen. We have a busy day today. It is a celebration tonight for Josh's grandparents. My mother-in-law's parents are celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. It was actually about a week and a half ago, but they live out of state. They just drove cross country here, and my sister-in-law is going to be here from out of town. So all of Josh's siblings, all the cousins, everyone is going to be in town. And my mother-in-law wanted to throw her parents a surprise 60th wedding anniversary. My mother-in-law knows that cooking with you all is kind of what I do. And so she asked if I would be willing to help with the food. And I said, of course. She came up with the menu. She kind of was able to strategically ask her parents what they would like. And so this menu is based off of their preferences. We're gonna make a groom's cake, a bride cake, a main dish, a side dish, and I think that's it. My mother-in-law is going to be doing the veggies. She didn't want all the cooking done at her house. She said she would come and help me do the cooking, but she works full-time. My sister-in-law is coming to town with a 5-month-old baby. I said, you go hang out with them. I'll do the cooking. Don't worry about it. The party's tonight. So you and I have got to, it is 10:21 right now. We're wanting to eat dinner at 5:30. So can I get all of this done? I don't know. I've got a list of recipes here. The first recipe I'm going to start with today is our pineapple upside down cake. This is going to be the groom's cake. I have not read over this recipe yet. So what I need to do is grab my ingredients. I'm going to read over this recipe. I did see that I need to preheat my oven to 350. I thought it said 375. I'm going to get this preheating. And while this is preheating and I read over my cake recipe, I'm gonna take you back to yesterday because I actually was able to get quite a bit of stuff done yesterday. I didn't think I was gonna be able to get that done, so it's kind of like a bonus. So I got a little bit of a jump start. My goal was to get started by 9 a.m. this morning, but I think that because I got a bunch of stuff done yesterday, getting started at 10:21 is gonna be okay. I'll go over the menu. I'll tell you all of what we're gonna be cooking when we were in the kitchen yesterday. So let me get this read, let me get you caught up to date, and I'll see you back in my kitchen in just a minute. Before we head out into the garden, I need to get my oven preheated so that it will be ready. As soon as we get back, we can bake our cakes. I watched a reel that said when you're baking cakes, it's best not just to let your oven come up to temperature, but let it sit there for a good 20 to 30 minutes before you actually put the stuff in there so that it's nice and evenly preheated. So we're gonna try that today. It is the most perfectly beautiful late summer, early fall type of day. This morning it was cold and right now it's sunny and warm and beautiful. But it has that kind of essence of fall in the air. Look at this jungle we have. I love it. I think we're gonna have zucchini for dinner tonight. So I'm gonna grab this, even though this is not on our menu for the party. I don't see any zucchinis there. None there. These green beans are done. I need to pull those. But this is kind of where we're heading to next. Oh, look at this one. Oh my goodness. If you were with me yesterday, we did a massive canning project. The apples are coming in from my orchard and we canned up 25 pints of applesauce. We made apple hand pies. For dessert yesterday and for the freezer so that I could just throw hand pies in the freezer anytime we want them. And I have not completely cleaned up from that project. I have unloaded and loaded the dishwasher twice today, but I still need to wash these dishes by hand. I need to wash this cutting board so we can use it today. And I just thought, because my son's down for a nap, I have about a 2-hour window right now. I might be able to get caught up on some cleaning in the kitchen, get those things harvested, and potentially get the cake in the oven. I have no dry dish towels. Let me go grab a dish towel. I went through all my dish towels yesterday. So my goal today is going to be to get some veggies prepped. I just washed these carrots. I have a couple shredded bags of carrots, teeny tiny bags of shredded carrots from last year's garden. So I want to use those, but I don't think that's going to be quite enough, so that's why I needed to harvest a couple here. My goal is to get the cakes in the oven, get a bunch of veggies prepped, and then maybe finish cleaning up this kitchen. So tomorrow we'll be able to actually make the main dishes. So these zucchinis we're gonna have for dinner tonight. Most of these green beans are gonna go to my mother-in-law's. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna prep 2, 3, or 4 lasagnas. I don't know how many lasagnas yet I'm gonna make. 2 of them are going to be for the anniversary party. And then I might make 2 more for the freezer or gifts. I haven't fully decided if I'm gonna go through the effort and get a light on. I might as well make more than what I need, but we're gonna do that tomorrow. But I would like my kitchen kind of put back together before we get in there and do that. If I didn't already mention it, we're also gonna make garlic, butter, cheesy rolls, like cinnamon rolls, but with confit garlic and cheese and butter and deliciousness. So that's gonna be a fun new thing we're gonna try. But I'm not gonna make those till tomorrow. So when I'm gonna prep the lasagnas, but she wants to bake them at her house, my mother-in-law's house. So I'm going to give the green beans to Josh when he takes the lasagnas. So she'll have those and she can cook the green beans, because I'm not gonna be cooking the green beans. So here you can see all my applesauce. I need to wash these jars and put them on the pantry shelf. If you missed that, that is the best applesauce I have ever made. And I hope to be making some more of it, because we've already, since yesterday, gone through 1.5 pints. It's that good. Butter, sugar. So we are going to be making my mom's chocolate cake recipe, which is my favorite chocolate cake base. And if you were with me when we did the tomato themed dinner party, I made a s'mores cake. So Josh's grandma's favorite cake is chocolate. So I'm gonna make a chocolate cake, but we're going to make a s'mores flavored cake. And I want to see if I can make a better version of a s'mores cake than I made last time. And you're just gonna come along with me, because I'm gonna be taking different components from different recipes to make this up. And then my Josh's grandpa, he requested for the groom's cake. So we're gonna have a bride's cake and a groom's cake. It's their 60th wedding anniversary, so I think it's worth making 2 cakes for them. They deserve it at this point. We're gonna make him, or I'm gonna make him, you're gonna come along with me, a pineapple upside down cake. But that I'm gonna make tomorrow because I want it fresh. These cake layers, I can prep the day before, and that's not gonna be a problem. I was gonna do all the cooking and everything the day of, but I kind of had this little pocket of time today. I thought, let's get in the kitchen and let's get some cooking done. So I normally make this cake in my stand mixer, but I didn't feel like getting that out. You all talked me into buying this battery powered hand mixer, and I've been loving it. So we're just gonna make this cake in here, and I think it should turn out just fine. But we do need to cream together 3 cups of brown sugar and 1 cup of butter. And I need to get some water on to boil, because you actually add boiling water to this recipe. I'm gonna take a break from creaming my butter and sugar together to get some water on to boil. just gonna use a kettle here. So let me tell you the whole menu that we're making. We're gonna make lasagna bolognese with bechamel sauce. This is what was requested. It's so nice when I don't have to come up with the menu. I don't mind making whatever what would the term be? I'm trying to think. Guest of honor request. That's less thinking that I have to do. That's why I often ask Josh, what do you want for dinner? And I let him decide, just because it kind of takes the pressure off me having to think what's for dinner. So we're gonna make lasagna bolognese with bechamel sauce. That's what was requested. A chocolate cake for the bride, a pineapple upside down cake for the groom, green beans from the garden, garlic rolls. I feel like there was one more thing. Maybe that was it. Easy. The cake, though, does have about 4 different recipes in the one recipe to make all the components. So here we have our chocolate cake, our lasagna recipe, our roll recipe. We're gonna make marshmallow fluff for the frosting for this. And I guess maybe I'll make some homemade salad dressing. We'll see if we get that far. I need some room temperature eggs. So I'm gonna go run down in my chicken coop and get some eggs, and then we will be back. While I'm down there, I know there's a bunch of stuff I need to go grocery shopping for downstairs, so let me grab those groceries while I'm down there. We got 6 eggs today, so I need to get those washed. Let me show you what I just shopped for in my pantry. I grabbed 3 quarts of marinara sauce that we made last year from last year's tomatoes and 1 pint. I am more than doubling this recipe, so that's why I grabbed that much. Downstairs, after using all this, I'll only have 2 jars left. So we need to make marinara sauce pretty quickly. I just used 3 cups of brown sugar, so I grabbed that to restock my bucket. 4 heads of garlic from the garden, 1 massive onion. I mean, this thing is huge. I think that probably will be enough. 4 boxes of lasagna. Now, I know how to make my own pasta and I make it all the time, but not today. So I had this downstairs, so we're gonna use that. If you wanna know how to make pasta, I can leave a recipe down below, and I could link a video where we make homemade pasta. I thought I would need this because I'm out of powdered sugar up here, but I actually don't think we do, because I'm gonna be making a marshmallow frosting. So I brought that up probably for no reason. I did just get these eggs washed, so I'm gonna add them one at a time. My water is coming up to a boil. I should get 2 bowls out here. 1 for my shells, 1 for my eggs. I need to mix this in between each egg. Now this recipe makes kind of a denser chocolate cake, which is what I like. I'm not a huge fan of super light and fluffy cakes. I like something that has a little bit more texture to it. So if you like a denser chocolate cake, it's not as dense as like a pound cake, but it definitely has more structure to it than, say, a traditional like chiffon cake. These are nice, beautiful, large eggs. I've noticed that at the grocery store, because I definitely have to supplement with grocery store eggs because I don't have that many chickens that are laying right now. Most of my chickens are not mature enough to lay eggs yet. And I've noticed that even large eggs at the grocery store are kind of on the small side. So when I can bake with my own homegrown chicken eggs, I like to, because they're just quite a bit bigger. Oh shoot, I just remembered I'm completely out of flour. So I get to go back downstairs and get more flour. That's fine. I think we won't add that quite yet, so I think I can add a few more ingredients to this. Vanilla. I'm gonna use vanilla bean paste. Ooh, that was probably a tablespoon. I'm gonna go now fill up my flour and we'll be back adding the rest of these ingredients. Well, in the history of me being an adult buying groceries for myself, I have completely run out of flour. I am shooketh. I cannot believe I don't even have white bread flour in my house. I need 2 2/3 cup flour. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's one. This is not a fresh milled flour recipe. And here's probably a 1/4 cup. Oh man, what do I do? I need a lot of flour for making the rolls tomorrow, and I'm not making fresh milled rolls. I'm making just all-purpose flour rolls. Okay, well, I guess the beautiful thing is I have a close relationship with my neighbors, and they are always very generous in times of need. I've already been into town today, so going into the grocery store right now doesn't sound that appealing because it does take me some time to get to the grocery store. Perfect, thanks. See you in a minute. Okay, bye. All right, I'm gonna go get flour. And just like that, we are back in baking business. She loaded up my container, which is really nice. She does know that this flour will come back to her at some point in the form of cakes or pies or cookies or whatever it might be. So for this recipe, we need 2 2/3 cup flour. We need to find a 1/3 cup. And then we need cocoa powder. And we need 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. And I probably should sift this, but I'm not going to. That's a 1/2 cup. Where's my 1/4 cup? Uh-oh. My 1/4 cup is in the dishwasher. And I know my tablespoon is in the dishwasher, so we're gonna eyeball that cocoa powder. Today there's no scale weighing out of ingredients. I just added baking soda and salt. Now I'm gonna mix this together. And that almost looks like a brownie batter, but we've got 2 more ingredients we're gonna add. We've got sour cream. This is 1 1/3 cup sour cream. That right there is only a 1/3 cup, but we're gonna add 1 more cup. Now we're going to add our boiling water. Our batter is done. I need to go grab my cake plates and some parchment paper. Can't find my favorite 9-inch cake pans. Oh, here. My dogs just joined me. They're seeing if I've dropped anything on the floor for them. I'm out of spray too. So I guess this is kind of a pantry restock too. Unintentionally, but that's how it goes sometimes. When I bake round cakes, I really like to bake them using parchment paper, and I never have any stickage. I should be doing that in my sink, but I'm not. That's okay, I already have to clean my counters again anyway. I'm making another cake tomorrow, so this will be perfect. I'll be able to run the dishwasher again tonight, and then we can get all those dishes dirty again tomorrow. This also makes a huge cake. It's a big, tall, beautiful cake. You saw all the ingredients that went into it. 3 cups of sugar, 4 eggs, almost 3 cups of flour, 1.33 cups of sour cream, cup of butter. It's pretty delicious and pretty decadent. My mom has been making this cake for years. And into the oven it goes for a good 35 minutes. Now, what inspired me to get some cooking done today, even though I was planning to do all of it tomorrow, I got my food processor out yesterday to do some Apple project with, and I unloaded it, and I didn't feel like putting it away because I'm gonna use it to chop up the veggies we need for our sauce. So I thought, that's why let's get some veggie prep and a cake in the oven today, so I don't have to put these attachments away just to put them back in the dishwasher again. So I am going to peel these carrots. So I think what I'm gonna do is just pull my cutting board over here. And I also need to get rid of the peels of this onion. So I think I'm just gonna peel my carrots and onion right into this bowl that had the chocolate cake in. This is gonna be my garbage bowl. I'm not gonna save these onion peels or garlic or carrot peels to go into my compost that would go back into my beds, because this particular bed of onions and carrots had a fungal disease. The actual produce is totally fine to eat. It doesn't affect the quality of the actual produce, but I don't want to keep inoculating my soil with that fungus. It didn't affect the carrots at all. It only affected the onion tops, or the greens of the onion. It's been almost a year since I've made this lasagna recipe. This recipe is so good. If you've never had this style of lasagna before, if you try it, trust me, you'll never go back. I mean, I still like a more traditional American style lasagna, but this style of lasagna just feels so decadent and over the top delicious. The first time I had, well, because we're gonna make a bechamel sauce, which is basically a white sauce. Instead of using the more traditional, like American style cottage cheese or ricotta cheese, we're gonna make a homemade white sauce that is just over the top good. So when I was requested to make this recipe, I was happy to do it because I haven't had it in about a year. I did wash these carrots once, but I'm gonna go rinse them off again. I'm gonna go rinse my cutting board off. I'm gonna get rid of all these peelings, clean up my counter a little bit. And then I do need to get out some celery. We're gonna do 4 ribs. So while I'm washing the carrots and the onion and getting rid of all that compostable stuff, I'm gonna wash that celery too. You can absolutely chop all these vegetables by hand if you want. I have found that I really prefer to do this in the food processor because I like a super, super fine mince on my vegetables. And so the food processor just comes in handy. Sometimes I don't find it worth pulling out the food processor for different things, but when I'm trying to make 3 to 4 lasagnas and I need this many kind of crunchy, hard vegetables minced up pretty finely, I'm willing to pull out my food processor and give myself the gift of easy mincing. Sometimes I just don't think it's worth having to wash the food processor, but in this instance, absolutely, it's worth it. I have also found that it is best to chop your vegetables separately. In the past, I used to try to throw everything in at one time, and because the different textures of the different vegetables, they mince up at different rates, and so I do find it's best to do the celery and the carrots and the onions separately. And if I had garlic, I would do that separately as well, but I already have pre-minced garlic in my freezer that we're going to use, and that just makes life even that much easier. Whenever anyone in my family needs help with cooking for a family get together, people know that they can call on me, that I'm more than willing to do this. I love cooking for the ones I love, and I like that my friends and family know that I can be a help to them when they want to be able to feed the ones they love with a delicious meal, but they don't have the time to cook it themselves. My cakes are baking. I got this prepped. I'm gonna wrap this in probably 2 layers of saran wrap, and I'm gonna pop that into the fridge. And then my goal here is to, before tomorrow, oh, I did wanna mention, I do have 3 pounds of ground beef. I mutilated this bag. That's okay, because I'm gonna put all of it into my brown sugar jar. I have 3 pounds of ground beef in my refrigerator thawing that I pulled out of the freezer yesterday actually, and then I have 2 pounds of Italian sausage in my refrigerator thawing. I pulled those out because I wanted them completely thawed before tomorrow. So I pulled them out yesterday because I was thinking about it. So my goal is going to be to try to take care of all these apple sauces, unload the dishwasher one more time. I've already cleaned the stove. It was pretty messy due to things bubbling and applesauce boiling and all that stuff. I need to wipe this down, but I want to get the dishwasher unloaded, loaded, and unloaded before tomorrow morning. I want to get those jars that I didn't end up canning with put away. I want to try to get these dishes washed by hand and get the kitchen all set, prepped, and ready so that tomorrow we can hit the ground running. I'm trying to think, should I just start sauteing those onions, carrots, and celery right now since I'm already in the kitchen and I've got to do all these dishes? I think we're gonna do that. Might as well. Might as well have my stove working for me while I'm in the kitchen. I'm gonna get some oil. I have some shredded carrots from last year's garden. I probably didn't even need to use this year's garden carrots, but I kind of want to get these used up. And if I have extra sauce, that's okay. We're gonna sweat these veggies down to almost nothing. No one's gonna even know these carrots or celery are even in here. They just add a really nice flavor. And then to that, I want to add a good amount of garlic salt to help sweat those veggies down. Since we're cooking, I'm going to get the meat started to cook. It should, oh, I don't have my stove plugged in right now. The ground beef and sausage might be thawed. If not, we'll get it thawed on the stove. Looks like my sausage is still completely frozen, but my ground beef is thawed, so I can get that in here. Well, there's still a big frozen piece in there, but that's okay. that'll thaw as it cooks. Not even close to being done. So now I've got 2 pots on the stove cooking, cake cooking. I like when my appliances are working for me. This morning I've been running laundry through the washer machine and my dishwasher has 34 minutes left on it. So that is awesome. These were jars that I washed for the canning project yesterday, but I didn't end up needing them. My goal is always to wash more than I think I'm gonna need because I do not like hand washing jars. So we're gonna get these back up here in the cupboard and we'll use those for a different canning project. And now I'm gonna wash these dishes by hand that are not gonna fit in the dishwasher even if I wanted them to fit in the dishwasher. I originally did not think that I was going to be able to do any of this meal prep on the day prior to the day of the party. I thought, looking at my schedule at the beginning of the week, I thought I'm going to do all the cooking for this dinner, the day of the dinner. I'll just get up early and be able to do it. But how life happened on the previous day, I had about a 2-hour chunk of time and I thought, I'm going to take advantage of this time. I'm going to get some harvesting done. We're going to start on the sauce. Originally I wasn't going to start on the sauce. Originally I was just going to harvest, clean the kitchen, kind of clean up from the huge, massive canning project we did the day before. And then I was thinking maybe I could get the cake for Josh's grandma baked, the chocolate cakes baked. I knew I wanted to do the pineapple upside down cake the day of so that could be fresh because we're going to make that caramely sauce. I thought that would be better baked up the day of. But I know from past experience, there's no problem baking a cake that's going to become a layered cake the day before and it'll still be moist and delicious. So that's what I was able to do. So the first thing, or now what I want to get done, is getting these dishes done. Whenever I do a big canning project, I don't always show kind of the result of what can be created from a canning project, and it can be a lot of dishes. And so here is kind of the not so fun and glamorous part of canning is I get to wash all these dishes by hand. But while I'm washing the dishes, we have our meat cooking away. I do have a base recipe that I follow for this lasagna bolognese with bechamel sauce, but I make it just slightly different this time because I didn't want to open up a bottle of wine. Normally I add probably for this amount, I would add like a half a bottle of wine, but then I know that would go in my fridge and I don't have any plans to cook with wine in the foreseeable future. And so that half a bottle would just float around in my fridge for a long time. So I end up using, instead of the wine, a balsamic glaze reduction, and oh my goodness, everyone said this was the best lasagna bolognese I have ever made. And I make this for Josh's side of the family maybe once or twice a year whenever we have like a special dinner or something where, recipes are being thrown out. I'm the one cooking. If I'm not doing like a big dinner party or something, usually this is the recipe they request I make, and they said that this was the best one I've ever made. So I might start doing that from here on out, where I substitute the balsamic glaze for the red wine. The red wine is delicious, but that's just sometimes when you're in the kitchen and playing around, experimenting, doing different things, you find a new favorite way to do something because you are getting creative. So I'm just bouncing around the kitchen. I wrote on the top of each one of my applesauces what they were and the date. Again, if you missed that, that is the best applesauce I have ever made. I do not think I made a year's worth of applesauce. I made 25 pints, my friend, and it is so good. My family is devouring it. We love applesauce, not just to eat like with a spoon, But if we have waffles, I really like waffles, and my family's starting to love that too, where we'll put waffles and butter and then applesauce on top. And we like applesauce on toast. We like applesauce on pancakes. We like applesauce just as a yummy snack. And this applesauce is so good. So here I've just combined my veggies and my meat. This I didn't think was going to feel like a huge time saver, being able to cook the meat and the veggies, but it was a huge time saver. I'm adding garlic, of course. This was the pre-minced garlic that I already had in my freezer. And I'm so glad I was able to get this done. Here's the balsamic glaze I'm adding. I just didn't want to have a bottle of wine floating around in my refrigerator for the next probably month or two until I have a reason to cook with it again. And this was a delicious substitution. I went ahead and I turned this off. This smells incredible. I'm gonna let this cool, pop it into our fridge. We'll pick up our red sauce tomorrow. I still need to wash these jars, but this is what my sink looks like right now. My dishwasher is almost done. These dishes can go into the dishwasher. And so I'm gonna wait to wash those apple sauces until I have space here. We got the cake done, and I probably only have 10 minutes or so before my son gets up. So I'm gonna go sit down and relax for a little bit. And then once these cakes completely cool, I'll wrap them up probably twice in saran wrap. They feel good. I was a little worried I overcooked them, but I think they're gonna be good. And I'll see you back tomorrow. We're gonna pick up right where we left off. Except actually, I will have this kitchen more clean tomorrow. Now that you are caught up to date and you know what I've already prepped, I've read my recipe, and we're gonna get started on this upside down pineapple cake. First off, we are in sweats today. It's a cozy cooking day with you and I. It is overcast and feeling like fall out there. And if you don't know, I'm 22 weeks pregnant. My baby girl is here and proud, and my pants don't fit. So I ordered 3 pairs of maternity pants. They should be here within the next week. So we are in sweats. I did get some new slippers, so I feel a little bit more put together because I've got a fresh pair of slippers. But I just want to thank you for being in the kitchen with me on this cozy day in sweats, cooking up a feast for the ones we love. So first thing I need to do is prep our cake pan. This is going to be such an easy cake because we don't have to frost it. Now we are going to frost this chocolate cake, and it is going to be quite a fun adventure that we're going to go on together with the chocolate cake. Maraschino juice going everywhere. This was the first time I've ever bought maraschino cherries. My son was asking for pineapple yesterday, and I said I did not have any that he could have yesterday, but today he'll be able to enjoy some pineapple, I think. The first thing we're gonna do is melt some butter. We're gonna make like a caramel sauce on the bottom. I have never made a pineapple upside down cake myself. We made one for some family gathering with my mom, but my mom, I think, was the one that actually made it. So I'm gonna make this one today. And the first thing I'm gonna do is melt 1/4 cup of butter. We're gonna pour this on the bottom of our cake pan. Now, you saw yesterday how I left this kitchen. It was kind of, well, it was kind of a mess. It wasn't terrible. We worked on getting the kitchen clean a little bit, but Josh came in behind me and he did a good deep clean on the kitchen. He got all of those hand wash dishes put away. He got the dishwasher unloaded and loaded again. And then after breakfast this morning, we loaded the dishwasher again. So currently right now, my dishwasher's running, floors are clean, all the countertops are clean, the stove is clean, and just in time for us to make a mess in the kitchen again. I like to come into the kitchen when I do a big cooking day and start with a clean kitchen, and ideally start with an unloaded dishwasher. We need 1/2 cup of brown sugar. That's a lot of brown sugar. Today we're starting with a clean kitchen and a dishwasher that's running, which is fine. I like to have my dishwasher unloaded when I get started because then I can just load it as I go, but we're working with what we got. And so it's really nice that he was able to help me. He got all of the applesauce put away downstairs for me. He carried all that downstairs, which was fantastic. I just put a half a cup of brown sugar on the bottom of this. This is a 9-inch cake pan with, I think, 2-inch sides. It's the biggest cake pan I have. She said you can make it in a cake pan or a pie pan, but I opted for a cake pan because I kind of wanted the straight sides. I thought that that would be a little bit prettier than a pie pan that has slanted sides. Now I have pineapple rounds here that I am going to put on a clean paper towel, and we're going to pat these dry, and this is going to be our decoration for our cake. My mom used to make this cake growing up. She would doctor up a box cake, and she doesn't remember making this cake, but I remember her making this cake all the time. It was a yellow cake that she would put, I think, crushed pineapples in it, because it was kind of like a mock upside down cake, and then she would put big pats of butter and pecans on the top. And I just remember really, really liking that cake. I don't think there was cherries in it, because I personally don't like cherries, and I wouldn't have loved the cake if there was cherries in it. But anyway, it's kind of a random thought. I feel like it had crushed pineapple. My favorite part was the top part, because I feel like she put pineapple on the bottom or something, and then the yellow cake, and then on the batter she would put pats of butter and pecans, and so the top had this, like, I love butter, buttery pecan topping that was just so good. I guess if any of you guys remember a recipe like that, could you leave it in the comments? I would really appreciate it. Okay, so man, I probably should have bought 2 things of pineapple, because she also decorates the sides, but I don't think I'm going to, because I want to make sure I have enough pineapple as a snack. So I'm going to pop those in there. We're just going to decorate the bottom with pineapple. I'm going to use the same paper towel to dry off our cherries. That's probably enough. I can get more out if I need to. I'm trying to put the prettiest side down, because that eventually is going to be the top of the cake. Should we put a cherry here? We'll do like that. That'll be pretty. So now what we need to do is pop this in the refrigerator. We're gonna let the butter set up a little bit while we make our cake batter. Now, I highly recommend reading your recipes prior to going grocery shopping, because I just read my recipe for this cake and it calls for cake flour. Thankfully, I have cake flour, so we can make this cake. You can substitute if you don't have cake flour. You can use all-purpose flour and some cornstarch, but I'm not gonna have to do that today because I actually have probably the perfect amount of cake flour here. So I did just put our 6 tablespoons of butter in the microwave to get soft. You can make this cake in a stand mixer. I'm gonna use my hand mixer today. And Josh helped me unload the dishwasher. So, where did my beaters go? There's probably about 3 places I would think that they would go. Maybe they're still in the dishwasher because they're not in the 3 places I would expect them to be. I thought they got unloaded yesterday. Oh, they're still in the dishwasher. Okay. Ooh, they're hot. Hot, 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 hot. Make sure that gets started again. Rinse these off. Josh does a lot of the dishes around here for me. And what he would like and I would like is to have a professional come in and help us organize this kitchen. Organization is not my strong suit. I try my hardest at it, but it's not my strong suit. So both of us recently have been talking about having someone come in and help us, just so that we both always know where everything goes. Now the recipe says to slowly add in the sugar to the butter. If any of you guys have any experience with professional organizer, all the tips and tricks would be greatly appreciated. I can keep things organized for a bit, but then eventually I get so busy and I'm just in a hurry. So then I just start throwing things places. Okay. Oh, I was supposed to do one egg at a time, one egg white at a time, but I was talking. I think that'll be okay. I'll just get this mixed up really well. I'm going to do 1/3 cup of sour cream. I love when sour cream's in a cake. And this is in both cakes. Mix that together. Do vanilla bean paste. We're going to make some of this homemade here in the next month or two. I love it. Now this recipe does say to mix all the dry ingredients in a separate bowl prior to mixing them together, but I'm just going to mix the dry ingredients on top of the wet ingredients, and we're going to go with that. So we need 1.5 cups, oh my goodness, might be the perfect amount of flour. Cake flour, and then we need our leavening agents. This recipe calls for both baking powder and baking soda. So this was baking powder. This is going to be my baking soda. Eventually, we do plan to remodel this kitchen. Is that going to be in a year? Is that going to be in 4 years? I have no idea. So that's one reason why we have not really seriously thought about hiring an organizer until we eventually redo this kitchen. Because whenever we redo the kitchen, I think that it would be wise to hire an organizer at that point in the design process. I'm gonna mix my dry ingredients together, and we're gonna mix this. I had to think about it for a second. We do have a couple more ingredients we're gonna add, but it says to get these mixed together first. This is gonna be a really white cake because we didn't add any egg yolks to it, which will be pretty. You'll be able to see the vanilla bean paste because of that. I think it's 2 tablespoons of milk and 1/4 cup, which is 4 tablespoons, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's 4 tablespoons. Now I'm gonna have to ask Siri because my 1/4 tablespoon, or 1/4 cup, I think is in the dishwasher, and I don't feel like pulling that out. Hey Siri, how many tablespoons are in a 1/4 cup? Yes, 4. I was right. We're just gonna use the pineapple juice from the jar. I almost threw that away. I'm glad I didn't. Let's just reread all of our ingredients. Flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, butter, sugar, egg whites, sour cream, vanilla, pineapple juice, and milk. That's everything, so that was easy. So this right here is our cake batter. that mixed together with a rubber spatula, and we're gonna grab our pre-prepared baking dish. This butter sugar is now set. This is a pretty thick batter. Makes sense why you would want that to set in the refrigerator, because it's keeping the pineapple and cherries in place as I spread out this pretty thick batter. It smells incredible and it looks beautiful with the vanilla bean paste in it. That's definitely become my new favorite over vanilla extract. I still use vanilla extract all the time, but I do like the vanilla bean paste, especially in something like this where you can see the vanilla beans. And I saw something, I don't remember if it was on YouTube or Instagram, but it was saying that the US is one of the biggest consumers of vanilla, that we love vanilla. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, so this is gonna go in there for about 35 minutes to 40 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and tidy up my mess here. I think the next thing, I'm trying to decide what I wanna get going on next. Do we want to do the bread? I think we want to do the rolls. I'm going to bake the rolls and have them completely done here before we bring them to my mother-in-law's, but the lasagnas we're going to bake at her house. I think that how this is going to work is at some point, Josh will probably drive over the lasagnas and the green beans to my mother-in-law's house so she can get those in the oven in time for them to be out of the oven by like 5:15, and then I'll go over there at some point with the pre-cooked rolls, and when the lasagnas come out of the oven, then we can just pop the rolls back in the oven to warm them up. Not that they need to be fully cooked, but that they can just be served warm. But if they're served at room temperature, I think that will be fine too. Okay. The eggs and egg yolks, those aren't gonna go to waste. I'm gonna let my chickens eat that. They will love it. And I guess these dishes are just going in my sink because I can't put them in my dishwasher. It looks like my new jeans just came in the mail today, so that'll be fun to try those on later. But I am not upset about cooking with you all in comfy clothes, because it's more comfortable than being in jeans, quite frankly. Okay, I don't need this mixer anymore. I almost forgot, I did not create a list. What I should have done is create a list of things I need to get to today. I didn't do that. I thought about doing it, but I didn't do it. Because we still get to decorate. Oh, I gotta set a timer for that cake because I don't want that to burn. And I'm also going to turn the oven light on so that I can see that there's something in here and I'm less likely to forget about it. So what did I say I was gonna do next? I think I said I was gonna do the rolls next, but I think what I'm gonna do is actually gonna be to get our sauce simmering away. We still need to make the white sauce, but I think I will do that when we have our dough going and rising. I'm just grabbing a couple ingredients out for our white sauce. I think I'm gonna triple this recipe. We need at least 2 baking dishes for the dinner tonight. But if I'm making lasagna bolognese with bechamel, I'm not just making what I need for tonight. I'm gonna make 1 extra because this is a little bit labor intensive. We love it, it freezes well. So I think I wanna try to get 3. This was the meat and veggies we made yesterday. I just let it kind of cool down a little bit and then I popped this in the refrigerator. So we need butter, we need more than that. We're gonna need 2 cups of butter, all this milk, Parmesan cheese. I did buy pre-grated Parmesan for this because I didn't feel like grating that amount of Parmesan cheese. Okay, for this, I'm gonna open 3 pints to start. Nope, I'm gonna open 3 quarts. After I use these 3 quarts, I will only have 2 quarts left of marinara sauce. And thankfully I have probably 200 pounds of tomatoes in my freezer, ready to be turned into marinara sauce. This is gonna take a while to heat up. I'm gonna put a little bit of milk in these jars. Whoop! Splashing. You could add water too if you wanted. Didn't mean to do that. I'm gonna add the rest of that 3rd jar, but I'm gonna wait until the meat kind of gets a little bit more soft and I can mix it a little better. Well, maybe I could add it now. This marinara sauce is fully to the thickness I like, so we kind of just need this to heat through. We don't need it to really reduce, but I would like the flavors to kind of come together a little bit. The rest of that. Now this next recipe I'm completely making up. I have never made this before. I think I probably saw a reel or something with this concept on it because I definitely don't think I came up with this idea. But when I went back to look through my saved recipes on Instagram, I could not find what I feel like I saw. I couldn't find that recipe. So what I'm gonna do is make it up. Let's see. Oh, did I not print? That's okay. I can look it up online. I didn't print my recipe for this, which is fine. I am going to adapt my 1-hour dinner roll recipe. So let me look that up. Scratch Pantry rolls. I will link this recipe for you. And what we're gonna do is basically make a savory cinnamon roll. We're gonna make a garlic butter roll. So I hope this turns out. I think it should be pretty delicious. I thought it'd be fun, kind of a new take on garlic bread. So that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna make this in the mixer. I'm gonna double this recipe. So we need water, milk, butter, honey, yeast, all-purpose flour, salt, and an egg. We're probably not gonna need the egg wash because we are gonna make these into like a cinnamon roll. I do need to warm that up a little bit and I need to melt my butter. So I think what I'm gonna do is go melt my butter first. I measured out my water in here and this has some butter remnants in it. So what I'm gonna do, actually, I'm just gonna eyeball the honey. We're just gonna eyeball the honey. But I will measure out our milk and then I'll go pop this in the microwave just for probably about 30 to 40 seconds. And we can add that into here. Salt and flour. I'm gonna start with 7 cups of flour. 1, and then if I need to add more, I can. 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just all-purpose flour. 6, 7. I'm gonna start mixing that. And then I'm gonna add instant yeast instead of active dry. because I forgot to bloom it. No big deal. We can substitute that. That looks pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna add any more flour to this. So we're gonna let this knead for probably about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, something like that, and then we'll let it rise. This looks pretty good to me. While this was kneading, I took a coffee break, and well, actually, that is not ready to go. See how that's just tearing? That has not developed. Yeah, that's just, okay, nope, not even close. Okay, that gluten has not developed in that flour yet, so let's keep kneading that. While this bread continues to knead, we're gonna get going on our bechamel sauce over here. I am going to triple this bechamel part of the recipe because I'm hoping to get 3 lasagnas. I'm gonna add some nutmeg. I probably added half of that. I'm gonna add some pepper and salt. Hopefully all of the butter and milk and flour will fit in this pot. I think it should. To that, I'm gonna add 3 cups. Wait, I need to check my recipe. Yes, I was right. 3 cups of flour, and we're gonna make a paste or a roux. My timer has 3 more minutes on this cake. Yeah, it's not quite done, but I rushed over here because I could see it, and I thought it was looking kind of dark. I'm gonna let it go for another maybe minute. Yeah, I'm gonna let it go for another minute, and then we're gonna call that done. And I need to read this recipe. I turned my flour butter mixture off because there's a couple things that I need to attend to, and I don't want that butter to burn because we have 3 cups of butter in there. Let's just keep a close eye on this. Bake for 42 to 48 minutes. Tent with foil halfway through. Well, I didn't realize that I was supposed to tent it with foil halfway through, because I was gonna say, this has not been baking for that long, and it's looking pretty brown on the top. I wish I had seen that, because it's looking pretty dark on the top, because I think this has only been in there for like 35 minutes, and this says 43 to 48 minutes. Okay, bake for 43 to 48 minutes. Tent foil on the top of the cake halfway through the baking time to prevent over browning before the center is fully cooked. Shoot. The cake is done when a toothpick inserts into the center of the cake and comes out mostly clean. A couple moist crumbs are okay, don't be alarmed. If your cake takes longer or the cake rises and sticks to the foil, we serve the cake upside down anyway, so it doesn't matter. Remove the cake from the oven and cool on a wire rack for 20 minutes. And then invert the slightly cooled cake onto a cake stand or serving plate. Some juices from the top of the cake will seep over the sides. That's okay. You can slice and serve warm. That would be really good. But it is pretty messy. That's not what the sentence read. I am not necessarily reading exactly word for word what this sentence reads. I am super dyslexic, and so I am just doing my best here. I find it best to cool the cake completely to room temperature before slicing. That's my timer. Do not refrigerate the cake to speed up the cooling process because it will end up tasting overly dense. Cover your cake slices and store for 3 days, or refrigerate or freeze. Blah, 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 da, da, da. You can freeze this cake, it says. Okay. So I'm gonna test it one more time because I feel like it was almost done. I would rather, well, let's see. There's a few crumbs. There's like one little crumb on the top there. I think we can call that done. I'll just leave this foil in here. I usually, when I tent or have foil in my oven, I'll just leave it in there and I can reuse it again because it really didn't do anything. So I'm just gonna set this on my counter, and in 20 minutes, we will invert it. And now the cake portion, or the groom's cake is done. Oh, I wanted to show you. My mother-in-law got this cute cake topper. It says 60th anniversary on it. So we're gonna put this on the bride cake because it's gonna be an actual tiered cake. And then I think on the groom's cake, we're gonna add one of these. These are, I think, more for like cupcakes. It says 60th diamond wedding. This one says 60th anniversary. So we're gonna use those in a bit. Okay, so I did want to talk to you about this dough. I'm a little concerned. I turned off the mixer so it's not kneading anymore. It's been kneading for about 10 minutes and it's not as, do you see how that dough is just ripping? This is a flour I borrowed, or my neighbor gave it to me because I completely ran out of flour yesterday. And so my neighbor was kind enough to let me borrow flour from, or have flour from them. But I don't know what brand of flour this is. And I've been using the same brand of flour for probably 8 years, the stuff that I get from Azure Standard. I believe it's Central Milling flour. And it's technically, the all-purpose flour is a high protein flour. So the difference between cake flour, all-purpose, and bread flour is how much protein is in it, which the protein is what is the backbone or the gluten of, there's no gluten in flour itself. There's two different proteins that when you add water to the flour, those proteins come together and form gluten. And the more protein, the more gluten there is in a flour and the more structure it's gonna have. There's a range for cake flour, bread flour, and all-purpose flour of where the protein needs to be so that it's categorized in each of those three categories. And the all-purpose flour I buy, the protein is on the way high end of that range. So it does kind of act like a bread flour. So I'm thinking this just might act more like a traditional, it doesn't have as much structure to it as I'm used to seeing. I think it should be fine. I don't know if I should just keep kneading it and hopefully the gluten continues to develop. So why kneading creates gluten in flour is those two proteins in the presence of water come together and create gluten. And the more you knead the flour together, the more of that reaction happens and the more gluten is formed. And so that's why kneading can make a stronger dough because it's forcing more gluten to form. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna knead this for another 5 minutes and then we'll call it good. I'm just noticing it's interesting because I'm using a flour I don't normally use. It's interesting seeing how it behaves different. I think it'll turn out fine. It's just something I'm observing. I just turned my flour butter mixture back on because we're gonna finish this roux while that continues to knead. And we need to add a lot of milk. We need to add 4.5 times 3, which would be 4, 8, 12, 13 and a half cups of milk. Hopefully I have enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we'll be able to make it fit. I'm gonna stir this in with the the flour butter mixture before I add the rest of them. I think I'm gonna call this good. It's just so different than what I'm used to. If you've ever heard of the window pane test, it's where you should be able to pull your dough and see through it without it breaking. And I'm trying to decide what I should do. If I should ask Josh if he has time to run to the grocery store for me and I should start over, before adding a ton of garlic and butter to this, or if I should just go with this because it's not behaving the way I would expect bread dough to behave. I'm a little bit at a loss. What we're gonna do is we're gonna let this rise for about 30 minutes and see what happens, and then we'll decide what to do from there. For now, I need to come back, and pay attention to this. I need to grab a whisk, and we need to whisk out these lumps and add the rest of our milk. Let me switch to a whisk, because we do not want a lumpy sauce. Let me get some more milk in there. So we put 6, so this is going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now I have not tasted either of these sauces yet. Oh, I need to add basil to this. I got a bunch of basil to add to that, I forgot. But I want to make sure the salt, pepper, and all the spices and everything are good before we call it good. You want to make sure both of these components are delicious on their own before you assemble your lasagna, because at this point we can adjust seasonings as needed. And you have seen, I do not really measure anything, so it's important, even if you do measure, just to taste as you go and make sure you like the way things are going. And I'm a little nervous about my bread dough. That is fantastic. I think I'm gonna add to the red sauce a little bit of red pepper flakes, not too much because there are gonna be quite a few kiddos there, but I do think it needs a little bit of red pepper. I'm gonna add a pinch more salt, and I'm gonna add some black pepper. And then I think that probably will be good once we add the basil. That'll help round it out. I'm gonna mix that together. We'll give this another taste test in a minute once that salt dissolves and gets mixed in there. It has a good level of sweetness. I've added no sugar to this at all. The sweetness is coming from the carrots. And I don't really need this to reduce down. I just wanted this to kind of heat up, all the flavors to marry together. Now let's give this one a taste test. Now we are going to be adding a ton of Parmesan cheese to this, but I want to make sure this sauce tastes good on its own before we add the Parmesan cheese. And this is going to be really hot too. I have this turned on really, really low now so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. It's nice and smooth. We don't have any lumps. That doesn't really taste like anything yet. That needs a lot more seasoning. Let's add more nutmeg. Now remember, this has 16 cups or something like that. Now I can't remember how many cups of flour it has, but it has a lot, not flour, milk. So this is a bunch of sauce. Okay. I think I can use a little bit more salt. And then I'm gonna call that good because Parmesan cheese has quite a bit of salt to it too. But I did want to make sure this tastes good on its own. Let's go ahead and give this a taste test. Make sure it's mixed in well. I've turned the heat off. Now I'm going to add Parmesan cheese. Our sauces are done, but before we assemble our lasagnas or decorate our cake, I want to turn out the upside down cake because this should be ready to go. it's beautiful. Okay. How pretty. So this is completely done now. I'm gonna set this over here to cool. I may need you to go to the store for me.
Okay.
Josh and I talked, and I just don't trust this dough. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with it. So we are going to, instead of me putting another cup to 2 cups of butter in this and tons of garlic and tons more cheese and it possibly not turning out, Josh is gonna go ahead and go get me some more flour. I don't wanna waste this. I think it's gonna be fine, but because I'm making a very special dinner for very special people, I think what I'm gonna do is just turn this into some sandwich bread. We don't have sandwich bread in our house right now, and I definitely don't want this to go to waste. And I think it would be fine, but I want to make sure that this turns out very special and delicious for a 60th wedding anniversary. So I just rolled those into 2 loaf shapes. Got 2 loaf pans, and we're going to turn this into sandwich bread. There, I'll let that rise, and we'll have some sandwich bread. We are doing great on time, so Josh, it's probably gonna take him a good 45 minutes to get down and get back, and because he's gotta do some other stuff while he's in there, so it might take him an hour. These dishes are so hot. I was gonna unload the dishwasher, but I can't quite touch them. So what should we do? Should we decorate the cakes? I was gonna unload the dishwasher, load it, tidy up, but let's see. Let's make the garlic butter for our garlic butter rolls, just so that's done. If you were with me when we did the tomato dinner party, I had bought some roasted garlic, and I think what I'm gonna do is I wanna use this up in this recipe. I'm going to pop that roasted garlic and 1 cup of butter. There's some herbs and oil in that. We're gonna microwave this. I just grabbed a dish out of the dishwasher so that one less dish I have to put away if I have to get one dirty. Anyway, I'm gonna microwave this. So to the roasted garlic and butter, I just added some frozen fresh garlic. I'm gonna let that frozen fresh garlic melt in this butter. And then I'm gonna take an immersion blender to this because I can't get these roasted, well, maybe I can't get them to smash. I don't want them whole. I want them kind of smashed up. Then we're gonna let this sit. This is gonna be our filling for our rolls along with a bunch of cheese. And then I decided we're gonna make and decorate the cake so that we can be completely done with that. And we can have both desserts completely done, which will feel good to have that done. I changed my mind. I was getting a little overwhelmed by thinking about making all the components for the cake when I could easily start and finish this lasagna. So we're gonna get this completely finished, and then that's one thing that's completely done. I have 3 baking dishes here. I asked my mother-in-law, did she want disposable baking dishes for this? Did she want me to bring an actual baking dish? And she said disposable would be fine because it would be easier. So that's what we're gonna do. 2 of them are definitely going to the party tonight, and 1 of them will be for the freezer. I love having a lasagna in the freezer because everybody loves a lasagna. And last time I did a big lasagna prep, it was a lifesaver. It was really, really nice to have. My parents took all the grandkids for a day, and my siblings and us, we had fun. So what I was able to do is I gave my mom a whole lasagna, and then she was able to feed all the grandkids, and they were super happy to eat lasagna. My mom didn't have to cook, and it was really nice. So we'll just see. I have no idea what this third lasagna is going to be for, but we'll have it prepped and it will, I'm sure, come in handy in the future. So you all know how to build lasagna. We're going to start with our red sauce here. Get these closer together so I'm less likely to make a mess here. These are pretty deep dish. If I was using a shallower dish, I could maybe get away with making 4. And I might need to grab more tomato sauce. I'm not sure if I need to do that. I can. I tasted this sauce after putting the basil in it, and let me tell you, that just brought it over the top good. Fresh basil is one of my favorite herbs, and cilantro. Those are my 2 favorite herbs. And green onions. I do really like green onions too. Is that considered an herb? I don't know. If I do not take the time to make my own homemade pasta, this is my favorite brand of store-bought lasagna noodles. They are a no-boil noodle, and they do cook up just as good, I think, as a homemade pasta noodle. Sometimes I find it fun to take the time to make homemade lasagna noodles. I've done that many times, but on this day, that was not something I had time for, and I love these noodles just as much as homemade ones. So if you've never tried, I'm not sure how to say it. I think it's Barillo, or it's in a blue box at every grocery store in my area. Walmart carries it. I know Kroger carries it. Albertsons and Safeway carry it. It's usually on the top shelf, and it's in a blue box, and they're a no-boil noodle, and they're flat, and they cook up completely different than a more traditional lasagna noodle. I had never had these noodles until I was in college, and I was blown away by the texture and flavor of them. They're just so good. They arguably rival the texture and flavor of a homemade noodle, with obviously way less work. You don't have to make the noodles, you don't have to boil the noodles, you just layer your lasagna and you're good to go. Now, I have 3 9x13 foil baking dishes here. I did ask my mother-in-law, do you care? I am willing to put this in a nice, I want to say ceramic, but I don't think they're ceramic, like a actual baking dish. And she said, do not worry about that. Make it easy. Use a foil pan. And I was here for it. So when I got these at the store, these are a deep dish foil pan. I could have probably made 4 or 5 lasagnas if I made the more traditional, like thin foil pans, but I went ahead and thought that the deep dish would work, because then we'd have a bigger lasagna and you wouldn't need as big of a piece to get full. And this lasagna I mentioned earlier is the best lasagna bolognese with bechamel I have ever made. I think for 2 reasons. One, I really liked the substitution of the balsamic reduction instead of the red wine. That was delicious. And 2, I probably added twice as much Parmesan cheese as I normally do, and that was delicious. My family loves cheese, and I had bought some pre-shredded cheese for this. I didn't take the time to shred my own. I dumped the whole 16-ounce bag in there. I didn't measure it. My recipe is in cups, and I just dumped the whole 16-ounce bag in there, and it turned out absolutely delicious. I think I mentioned earlier that Josh's grandparents drove in their RV cross country, and they spent, I think, 6 days driving cross country. And with the leftover lasagna, Josh's grandma has what's called a Hot Logic, and it's basically these little glass baking dishes that you can put in a warmer, like a slow cooker type thing. And she put what was left of this lasagna in one of her little baking dishes, and then she could warm it up. She said she had 6 Hot Logic little baking dishes with freezer meals in them. And every day at noon, she would put her Hot Logic baking dish in her warmer. And then by the time they got to their campground, they would have a hot dinner. And so with what was left from the lasagna, she filled up one of her baking dishes, froze it, and she was really excited to be able to heat that up on their way home back to Indiana. That's where Josh's grandparents are from. So they drove from Indiana to Washington State, and they are going to have a delicious home cooked meal on their way home. So that made me feel good that they enjoyed it so much they wanted to be able to enjoy it on their long journey home. I was getting a little overwhelmed there by the state of my kitchen. So after I got the 3 lasagnas done, I took a minute, unloaded the dishwasher, loaded it, vacuumed the floors, cleaned the island. I got this bread in the oven. I'm gonna take its temperature actually before I pull it out. Oh yeah, it's at 154. It is not done. It needs to be at 200. So that's why I always like to take temperature of bread. Josh brought me more flour. So I think the very next thing I want to do is get going on the rolls. I think if I had used this dough for it, it would have turned out just fine. But because it just didn't act the way I'm used to, we're going to try it again. I also took my immersion blender to my garlic butter because I want that garlic to be in small pieces, just because there's going to be kiddos. I didn't know if they would be super interested in biting into a bigger piece of garlic. So that's my milk. Here's my water. I'm gonna have to pull my recipe up again. I know I need butter melted, so I'm gonna go melt this butter. Ooh, I just got a lot of that on the top part there. Butter, salt, and I'm really curious to see if this flour that Josh picked up for me, if it acts a little bit different. It worked out that Josh needed to pick up a couple pieces of trim board from the hardware store for the chicken coop. So he was gonna go down into town anyway. So thankfully it was not just for the flour, because it's always nice when you can, do a couple trips or do more than one trip when you have to go into town. Especially because I was just at the store yesterday. Oh no, it might have been the day before I went to the store. Okay, so I'm really curious to see if this acts different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, look at that. We also got some meal prep done, and I got some sandwich loaves done. This is for our cake. I decided to get my big pots and pans in the dishwasher, so now I have my dishwasher running again. My kitchen feels a lot better. I don't know about you, but I definitely enjoy cooking in a clean kitchen better than a messy kitchen. So we're gonna test out this dough here. I was thinking, is it all in my head that flour was acting different? I don't think so, because look, I'm actually getting a stretch on this, and it's not just tearing. So I don't know. This has been kneading for quite some time while I've been kind of tidying up the kitchen again. It's just starting to break there. I was also thinking that maybe I felt like it was acting different because I've been working with so much fresh milled flour recently that I just am out of familiarity with working with 100% white flour. I don't know. This does look really nice though. I'm just gonna mix that together. I'm gonna get this out. I could have probably put this in the dishwasher too. No, I can tell it's acting different because when I pulled this out last time with the other dough, it ripped the dough versus this did not rip. Now this is a quick rise bread, which is good because we'll be able to work with it in about 30 minutes. So what I'm gonna do is put the lid on this. Happy with this. We have our garlic butter ready to go. We have our dough ready to go. I can put this away, but I should wipe it down. I did wipe the stove down too. I guess that's one thing I did because I had red sauce all over it. I probably wash my stove 1 to 2 times a day. Maybe 3 times a day. I'm constantly wiping my stove down. Okay. Let's get this put away. One less thing in our way. Our graham crackers are smelling delicious. We're doing great on time. So what I think I need to do next is our marshmallow. Where did I put my recipes? I set them in a drawer because I wanted them out of my way. We're gonna do homemade marshmallow cream / frosting. We need 4 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, cream of tartar. I didn't use this last time. I have cream of tartar. I do not use this very much. Cream of tartar. Got some flour here. I'm gonna wipe off. I'm keeping this out because we're gonna use it when we make our garlic rolls. Place egg white, sugar, cream of tartar in a heat-proof bowl. Now, I haven't really talked you through what I'm doing for this cake. I made the tomato-themed dinner party. I made a s'mores cake, and it was good, but I thought I want to try my hand at kind of making my own version of it. I want to do it different. So we're going to make marshmallow frosting. We're going to blowtorch it to toast it. I've got my 2 chocolate cakes there, so that's a different cake recipe than the one that I made last time. I'm trying to think how I want to decorate this and how I want to use the graham crackers. Do I want to do just ganache in the center and then graham crackers? What I was thinking was cake, chocolate ganache, graham crackers, cake, and then the marshmallow frosting on the outside, which is way different than I did it last time. Or should I do cake, swirl of ganache, swirl of marshmallow, swirl of ganache, swirl of marshmallow, swirl of ganache, swirl of marshmallow, graham crackers. So when you cut into it, you're gonna see chocolate, marshmallow, chocolate, marshmallow, chocolate, marshmallow, like a really cool design, and then graham crackers on the top. Would that be more delicious and more aesthetically pleasing? Or, because I'm thinking, would it be weird to have the graham crackers in the center crunching into that over top of ganache? Would that get like mixed together and then it would feel like crunchy chocolate's not bad. I need to look up a ganache recipe because I did not look up a ganache recipe yet. 4 ounces of chocolate to 1 cup heavy cream. I've used all of my like mixing bowl type things. I'm going to make this first because I need my ganache to cool off a little bit before we can use it in the cake. The more cream you add to a ganache, the runnier it is. That's why I wanted to look up a recipe just to see one that has a good consistency for cake filling. I'm gonna pop this in the microwave for about a minute. I'm gonna take our graham crackers out of the oven, and my bread has cooled off nicely and it's nice and soft. This bread would have made perfectly fine rolls. Because look at how beautiful that sandwich bread is. But now we have sandwich bread, which is not a bad thing at all. While that's microwaving, I want to also set up my double boiler for our egg mixture. So my cream is nice and hot now. You could do this on the stove if you wanted, but I have no time for that. Actually, I do have time for it, but a microwave is going to work just fine. We are going to use the stove for our marshmallow. I'm going to add 4 ounces of these chocolate flavored. Oh shoot. I don't like that it says chocolate flavored. Whenever I see flavoring on a chocolate, to me that indicates that it's got other things in it than just, you know, cocoa butter, cocoa powder, sugar, and milk. Oh well. Oh, dog's ass gonna go out. So all I'm gonna do is let this chocolate sit in this hot cream for a bit. We're gonna set this over here, and then we'll whisk that together and we'll have a delicious ganache. They will be asking to come in just a minute. I wanna get some water on the stove to boil. I'm gonna make a double boiler using a pot. That's touching. That should work. Get that water on to boil. In my mixer, I'm gonna add egg whites. I am going to 1.5 this recipe. Because I wanna make sure I have enough Now I'm gonna add sugar. And we're gonna cook this on the stove till it reaches 160 degrees and the sugar melts. But before we do that, I think our ganache is ready for a good mix. Once I get this all mixed together, I'm gonna pop this in the fridge so that it can set up a little bit so that we can use it inside our cake. That looks a little runny to me, even though I followed that recipe. I'm gonna add a few more chocolate pieces in here. So I probably put 6 ounces of chocolate in there. We're gonna let that melt, and then once I get that melted, we'll mix that and pop that in the fridge. You don't want the water touching the bottom of your pot, so that should be good there. Got a thermometer here. I love this digital thermometer because it has a huge screen. It's so easy to read. After going through a bunch of the candy thermometers that are the traditional ones, I finally bought this one and I love it. So we're basically tempering these eggs. Not tempering, we are pasteurizing these eggs and melting the sugar, but we do not want to cook the eggs. So this is gonna be a process for me to stand here and stir. I think I'm gonna have to get something for my hand because my hand is getting hot from the stove. I almost forgot this recipe called for cream of tartar. Last time I made this, it did not call for it. So we're gonna go ahead and get that in there now. Cream of tartar helps stabilize egg whites. I do know that. I've been slowly heating this up now for about 7 to 8 minutes. I'm trying to do this low and slow so we don't end up with scrambled egg whites. We have 11 more degrees to go. We've reached 160. So we're gonna get this marshmallow meringue onto our stand mixer. I'm gonna add some vanilla bean paste to this as well. Then we're gonna whisk this for about 5 minutes. And while this is whisking, we're gonna get going on our garlic rolls. I have all of these recipes saved on Instagram where there's a bunch of add-ins and breads and fillings and toppings and just really different things other than just a traditional like roll. Whereas I do love a good roll or a good loaf of bread. I am at this point pretty comfortable making a pretty good roll or loaf of bread. And now I kind of want to push myself and start getting more creative and trying more add-ins and more just kind of pushing my creativity when it comes to bread baking. And so I know I saw a recipe similar to this. I think the recipe I saw, I can't remember now because I couldn't find it. Sometimes when I can't remember if I always save recipes on Instagram. Sometimes I go back and look and I'm like, oh, I didn't actually save that one. Or they get lost in the, I don't know if you have a ton of recipes saved on different social media platforms, but I certainly do. And sometimes they get lost. But I know I saw this somewhere. I didn't come up with this idea and I loved the idea. And this is just like the beginning of really wanting to kind of push my creativity when it comes to bread baking. And this was definitely a success. Oh my goodness, so good. There were a couple left over. There were about 6 left over. And my mother-in-law said her husband, what he did the next day for lunch is he kind of unrolled them. He put some ham in them and then he rolled them back up and he heated them in the microwave and he had like a ham, garlic, cheese roll up for lunch the next day. They were so good. I am so glad I tried these for the first time. Look at how beautiful this is. Perfect. It's shiny, it's glossy. You can see the vanilla. Yum. So we're just gonna let that be there for a bit till we go back to the cake. I'm going to get these rolled up. Hopefully this is delicious. You could even put some chives in here, some parsley, add some greenery to it if you wanted to. I've seen some people when they make rolls, they cut the dough first and then they roll it up. But I've always been really comfortable doing it this way. Let me know if you like that method, if you make cinnamon rolls. Let's pinch the edge. Got garlic on me. I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna do this with the other half of the dough or if I should just make plain rolls with the other half of the dough. I'm gonna cut these on my cutting board. I always like to put seam side down so just the weight of the dough kind of pushes that seam together. We are just about ready to decorate the cake, which is honestly what I've been looking forward to all day long. I'm just adjusting these rolls. I let them rise for about 15 minutes or so. I have spent some time cleaning the island, getting some stuff in the sink, dishes. This smells incredible. I think this is going to be delicious. Definitely nice and garlicky. Normally I bake the rolls at 400. I just have a feeling that I should drop the temperature to 350 for this. So that's what I'm doing. I have this in here at 350. They'll probably take 15, 20-ish minutes to bake, a little bit longer than the rolls because I have dropped the temperature. But now we can get going on decorating our cake. So I've got some parchment paper down here I need to get out so we can keep our cake stand nice and clean. And I think I know how I'm gonna decorate this. I need to grab out some Ziploc bags. I think I'm gonna do a swirl in the center. I'm gonna wash my hands one more time. I've already washed them, but working with that butter, I feel like I need to go ahead and wash them one more time. All right, that feels much better. I'm gonna grab out all my components. I did end up putting my chocolate ganache in the freezer because it wasn't hardening up quite fast enough for me. I'll probably need that towel in the refrigerator. So I've been, every time I walk by, I've been stirring it and it's starting to thicken up nicely. It's almost to the consistency I want. It's not quite there. It'll probably be perfect by the time we need it. So I'm gonna put this back in the freezer. I'm glad I added a little bit more chocolate. Is that gonna work? Yeah. Okay. Now for Josh's grandma, Renee, my mother-in-law, all she told me was chocolate cake. She didn't say what kind of frosting, exactly what flavor profile, if she wanted chocolate raspberry, chocolate strawberry, chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. So I am just kind of going with my own idea here. We're going to take some of this beautiful, beautiful marshmallow fluff. Put that on the bottom here. I wish you could see, I don't think you can see the black beans in this. Not black beans. Hopefully there's no black beans in this, the vanilla beans. This cake feels like I cooked it perfectly. Doesn't feel overcooked or undercooked. Just measuring to make sure it's even on that cake plate. And now I need to put some of this marshmallow cream in here. If I had a gallon-sized freezer bag, I would use that, but I do have gallon-sized freezer bags, or gallon-sized Ziploc, I should say, not freezer necessarily. I would use that, but the ones I got are from Costco and they don't have a point. I hope I made enough of this frosting for the outside. I want to make a dam for my ganache, so that's why I'm taking this marshmallow fluff and I'm going to make a dam around the outside here. Trying to be a little bit on the conservative side so we have enough to frost the outside of the cake. I made way more ganache than I need, but we can use that for something else. Now I want to make sure our cake sticks, so I'm going to add a little bit more ganache as glue. And a little bit more marshmallow fluff. Try to keep those graham crackers in there. Now I want to clean up all those graham crackers before I start frosting the outside, because those will want to stick, and I don't want those on the outside of my cake. We got it done in the exact amount of time we needed to get it done in. For the past like 30 minutes, I have just been sitting down. I was waiting for the rolls to come out of the oven. It is 3:46 right now. What we need to do at this point is, I'm not gonna worry about these dishes. My dishwasher has 24 minutes left. That'll be a project for tonight. But we need to pack all of this stuff up and bring it down to my mother-in-law's house. I did text her and say, please preheat your oven, because these are gonna take a good, probably 45 minutes to an hour to cook. So as soon as we get to her house, we're gonna pop 2 of these in the oven. One of these lasagnas, I'm gonna wrap and throw into the freezer. I can't decide if I wanna torch this. This would be really beautiful if I torched it, but I kind of like the look of the white with the vanilla bean. And so I'm gonna bring the torch to my mother-in-law's house. We might torch it, we might not. I almost put this on there, but I thought, you know what, maybe we should wait. It'd probably transport easier in the car without this on there. I'm gonna hold this and this on my lap probably. Now the reason this is so dark, this is not burnt. I did taste this just to make sure it wasn't burnt. I used a really dark brown sugar. If I was to make this again, I would use a light brown sugar, just because I think it would be a little bit prettier, but it's not overcooked and I think it's gonna be delicious. I have 2 big bags of green beans I harvested from the garden yesterday. She will cook these, my mother-in-law, when we get to her house. Over here are the garlic rolls. I did, when I took them out of the oven, brush them with some butter, and I just put this towel on them so they'd be nice and soft. Yeah, they feel really soft, so that's good. I also got a bonus 2 loaves of bread. I think I'm actually gonna package those up and gift those to my 2 sister-in-laws, because I do have bread in my freezer. I'm pretty sure I have some sandwich bread in there. So since I am gifting a bunch of food, I'm gonna go ahead and gift that as well. So basically what I text my mother-in-law is, as soon as we get to your house, let's throw those 2 lasagnas in the oven. Those are gonna need to sit for a good 15 to 20 minutes before we cut into them so that they set up nicely. So at that point, we'll probably just turn the oven off and we can throw these garlic rolls in the oven and they can just kind of warm up in the oven. They're fully cooked, so we don't need to cook them. And that's when we will cook the green beans. Very, very productive day. I got it done in the exact amount of time I needed to get it done. And I'm going to put foil on these, clean up myself real quick, package up my whole family, and we're gonna head to a 60th wedding anniversary with all the cousins, all my in-laws, and it's gonna be a really fun day. So thank you for being here. I will show you what this looks like as we cut into it. Oh, I definitely wanna show you what this cake looks like and if I decide to torch it or not. So friend, thank you for being here as we got all of this cooking done. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. If you wanna watch more videos of mine before now and my next upload, I'll pop some there. Recipes will be in the description box, the ones I can link. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye, friend.